I know that that kind of treatment does not get accurate intelligence information. I know that.
Well, wait. Let me stop you, though. I was told directly by 3 former CIA directors. They told me this. I talked to them. They told me they did get it. All right, they did. And you say they don't. So I'm confused.
Well,
my viewers are confused. Come on.
All right, I got to tell you, well, we're joined by Jonathan T. Gilliam, former Navy SEAL and FBI agent, and president of U.S. Continued Service. Welcome back, sir.
Thank you very much.
All the respect in the world for John McCain, for serving his country, for what he went through, unimaginable torture. That was torture for years and years and years. And when he comes forward and says he's against torture and torture doesn't work, he's speaking about perhaps himself, his comrades.
Right.
I don't see why he feels it's to the benefit of the nation to go forward and say you don't get information from torture.
Right.
When, as Bill Riley rightly said, CIA director after CIA director from all the presidents, from Clinton through Obama, have said, yes, we did, and yes, it worked.
Right.
So what, do you feel he's just using his own, I hate to say prejudice because it sounds bad, but his own experience and prejudices and transferring it to this situation?
Well, my theory has always been if it's somebody who's actually been injured by a certain situation, that person should recuse themselves from actually weighing in on it and making the laws for it. The same thing with a judge. You know, maybe if a judge had a family member killed by a drunk driver and then they go have a drunk driving case. John McCain, you know, was a prisoner of war along with Admiral Stockdale and many others. They were tortured for years and years. But what John McCain is missing in this whole thing, and I don't know where his politics start and that actual experience ends, but the fact is there's differences between interviewing, interrogating, advanced interrogations, and then torture. And I think the American people need to start hearing these different definitions because the press, by and large the liberal press, and even the conservative press to some extent, because of ignorance of what it actually is, are milking these things together.
I couldn't agree more, and I want to get to that. But so you think in a situation like this, John McCain, who no disrespect intended from you or from me, should not weigh in on this, should recuse himself and say, look, I went through what I went through. I can't judge what someone else went through. You think that'd be the way to go?
I think that's absolutely correct.
Yeah.
And I mean, yeah, I think that's correct. And I've never been a fan of John McCain. Anyway, I think he should have retired a long time ago.
Well, politically speaking, I'm not in alignment with John McCain, but we both respect what he did and for his country and the suffering he went through. Okay, now the torture, the word torture, bandied about by the media constantly, every day. This is why this is the torture. Here's the torture. This report, they're basing it on this report, which is, everybody agrees, was one-sided. They interviewed no witnesses. It's from emails and whatever. And torture, it's a subjective term. Our government approved most. If there was a rogue tactic here or there, then sure. And that's not what they're referring to. They're calling it, all of it, torture. But our Justice Department deemed it was not torture. So who are they to now say it's torture?
Right. Well, they're uneducated as well. I mean, to my knowledge, you know.
But I'm uneducated like them in that sense, and I'm not calling it torture.
But you don't have an agenda when it comes to this.
That's the difference.
You know, Senator Feinstein, to my knowledge, has never gone and physically watched somebody be waterboarded. She's never talked to somebody in the military after they've gone through sleep deprivation, for instance.
Have you been waterboarded?
I've been waterboarded. I've had sleep deprivation. I've, you know, had numerous where we've gone long periods of time. I went through Ranger School as an exchange as a SEAL. You know, we sleep on the average of 2 hours a day, and you get to eat once a day for 62 days.
Wow.
So you come out of there, you know, 20 pounds lighter with the immune system of a severe burn victim, but you are in the fog of war, and they put you into that in a controlled environment, and that's really the key. When we talk about enhanced interrogation techniques, these are what you could say a torturous type of treatment, but it's in a controlled environment, which is different than torture. Once you go into torture, you're literally breaking somebody for little or no reason except simply to break them.
Right. Now when you were waterboarded, I mean, all the things you went through, and I think you were saying to me earlier, there were 7 or 8 of the things mentioned in the report that you say you went through. What, you consider any of that tortured? Were you tortured by any of those things?
I consider it torturous.
Right.
You know, but it's a manufactured situation to make you feel as though you're drowning or you're dying or you're freezing, to make you suffer so that it breaks down your ability to want to hold on to secrets.
So would the U.S. government be doing it, assuming they still are, to people like you during the training period that you went through it, if it were torture?
No, but see, they know the reason we go through these things.
To prepare yourself in case you come up against it.
In case we come up against it. Plus, it just hardens you. But overall, the difference is between real torture and interrogation techniques is that if we get captured by the enemy, the majority of enemies do not subscribe to the rules of war, and they will simply torture you to death. They'll take these to the point of death, and that is torture.
And that's where John McCain speaks from, I guess, taking it full circle.
For years and years. And, you know, even in interviewing, I'm creating a false environment so that you may like me and think I'm your best friend, but I'm still trying to get you to let your guard down. All this has to
work on me. Anyway, great to see you, man. Always good to see you, Jonathan Gilliam. Okay, folks, up next, it's going to be the Malzberg panel. We'll talk about all of this, but first, in honor of the 64th anniversary of the Battle of Incheon, this hour's American Moment takes a look back at the pivotal naval battle for that, well, it's the one that proved to be decisive in victory for the U.S. in the Korean War. Here it is.
On September 15, 1950, General of the Army and Commander-in-Chief of the United Nations Forces, Douglas MacArthur, launched a surprise amphibious attack against the Communist North Korean Army at the Bay of Incheon in South Korea. Approximately 3 months earlier, the North invaded South Korea and soon captured its capital, Seoul. MacArthur, against the advice of his military advisors, chose Incheon for his counterattack. The move was risky. Incheon was heavily fortified, and American soldiers would face towering cliffs on its beaches. His maneuver caught the enemy completely by surprise. MacArthur quickly cut the North Korean army in half as their beleaguered army hastily beat a retreat north. For the moment, the government of South Korea had been saved. In an address to a joint session of Congress, General Douglas MacArthur uttered those famous words, "Old soldiers never die, they just fade away," and then added,
"I now close my military career and just fade away."
You're watching An American Moment on Newsmax TV.
A $1.1 trillion spending bill is now in the hands of the Senate. I'm Francesca Page, and this story tops your Newsmax Now update. Several Democrats reject the financial reforms included in that proposal, but Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid hopes the upper chamber can pass the bill sometime today. Director of the CIA, John Brennan, defends his agency's tactics. He insists enhanced interrogations gathered useful intelligence, but admits some agents went too far. And federal prosecutors seek to bring charges against associates of the New Jersey Governor Chris Christie, this after last year's closing of lanes at the George Washington Bridge. And storms pound parts of Southern California today. High winds and torrential rains forced people out of their homes and left hundreds of thousands without power. I'm Francesca Page. We'll have another update coming for you at the top of the hour. Stay